So, Shuhei Yoshida is, of course, an absolute legend in the video game industry. He was head of Sony Interactive Entertainment for years, and then he left that position to be I guess, evangelist for indie titles for Sony before eventually leaving the company and starting his own consultancy firm where he helps indie devs get their games off the ground, funding, anything like that. And I think that's extremely fascinating. A move by a man who was there for so much of the history of AAA games and really helped usher in many of the titles that we absolutely adore, many of the titles that put PlayStation 4 and 5 and all that, 3, whatever, on the map. And he did an interview with GameSpot and Devin McClure, and I just wanted to read one section that he talks about how he believes the future of gaming is not AAA, and it's instead going to be indie games, and then kind of talk a little bit about it. So let's go over to the article, or rather the interview. And it says, one of the last AAA games that Yoshida played was Ghost of Yotei, spurred by his previous involvement with Ghost of Tsushima, but he wasn't able to finish it. He since moved on to near Neo 3 after loving the previous two installments, but it's simply hard to find the time. Though he makes occasional time-consuming expeditions for AAA titles, Yoshida is a strong believer in indie game superiority because of their firmer creative resolve. Quote, you can feel the game developers' vision in indie games because indie game developers don't have to ask for approvals. Yoshida says, I used to work at a large company at PlayStation, and even though we were allowed to have the developer and studio propose what the games to make, there are many people involved. It's really hard to tell who is the creator of a AAA game, Yoshida continues. Maybe Kojima is an exception, or maybe Miyazaki. You can tell it's their vision when you play their games, but most other AAA games are a group vision. It's not one person's vision. A large budget also means that it's a necessity that the game is liked by a large number of people, which comes to at the expense of individuality. We make the game, polish the game, but it becomes a bit more generic, he says. Publishers tend to go safe when they pick the genre or subject. The marketing team says, well, this never worked. There's only a small audience. Yoshida believes that indie developers, on the other hand, just want to bring their vision to life. They are very excited about this certain subject, even though no one seems to be interested in the subject at the time. But after 3 years, that might become the latest and the most exciting thing, Yoshida says. In his way, Yoshida believes indie developers can lead the entire industry. The AAA studios are big fans of many of these game designers and look at indie games for inspiration, and so the indie game play a really important role for the whole industry to keep innovating. During his time at PlayStation, Yoshida encountered many instances of playing it safe, interfering with what he viewed as creative potential. One instance in particular sticks out to him. The rhythm games, Frequency and Amplitude, which were produced by Harmonix, the developer that would eventually go on to create the Guitar Hero franchise. I was in love with that game. The core gameplay was but the game felt a bit artificial looking and didn't sell well. But I felt that there's something in there, and I wanted to continue to work with Harmonix. Our business marketing side allowed us to do Amplitude after Frequency, even though Frequency didn't sell. But after Amplitude didn't sell again, I was not allowed to continue on that path, and after a couple of projects, Harmonix hit a home run with Guitar Hero. So, I think that's a great example of indie developers finding their footing and eventually getting a massive hit in Guitar Hero. But I think the industry today is really, really plagued with this. We need to play it safe. We need to appeal it to as many people as possible. And that's the only way to succeed. And sometimes it does. I mean, just look at Crimson Desert, right? That is the most for everyone game that I can think of. And it's very successful. And it's not like a knock on the game, but I don't think like Crimson Desert is going to be something that people are inspired by, right? There's nothing about Crimson Desert that you really haven't seen before in other games. Granted, there's so many systems within it that makes it unique that they got so much into the game, but there's not a ton of originality within the game itself that's going to inspire other people. Conversely, we've seen a bunch of indie titles just this week. I mean, Windrose, Mouse PI for Hire, you know, Vampire Crawlers. These are all independent titles doing their own thing, building off of what other independent titles have done, of course, but basically getting the audience from people who are interested in those but want something a little bit new, something a bit more risky, and honestly, something that costs a little bit less. This is why we've seen these companies move into these live services, and I think that's very disappointing, right? I mean, not every game needs to be a live service, but, you know, in Yoshida's absence as the head of PlayStation, we've seen PlayStation move into making all these live service games. The latest one being Marathon, which is somewhat successful, but not a huge hit, not as big as they probably thought it would be. And we're going to have to see about how these future live service games fare. I mean, Concord, obviously, as opposed to Child, it's almost like cliche to bring it up, but that was a disaster, a huge disaster, and something that really wouldn't have been, you know, something that got made when Yoshida was the head guy. And it was chasing trends, it was chasing hero shooters, but the time for hero shooters had passed. People who still play hero shooters are already playing on Overwatch or Marvel Rivals, so it just wasn't a good situation for them. And we'll have to see if this new live service direction is the way to go. I personally don't think it is. I've made no bones about it. I don't think that PlayStation is going to be terribly successful with live service games. I think they need to get back to, you know, for not necessarily third person titles like they had, but single player games. And I think that is holding the industry back. This notion that they need to appeal to everybody, you end up appealing to nobody. Or sometimes you hit it big, but, you know, that's not that common. So, do you agree with what Yoshida said in this interview? Do you agree with my opinions on it? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. We have new videos coming out all the time here on the channel. Also, check out our main channel if you're watching this on Those Fake Nerds. That is, of course, Wicked Get Everything, where we cover video games in the form of video essays and video game reviews. Check out Those Fake Nerds if you're watching this on Wicked Get Everything, where we do daily videos on the video game industry over there. Check out Wicked Sports, where we cover sports news. Better Radio, which hosts all of our podcasts, and our newest channel, History is Wicked, where we cover cryptids, urban legends, and weird history stories. Again, thank you so much for your time, and I will see you in the next one.